This is intimidating for me. I don't know about for you, but it's intimidating for me. My name is Cris Ferguson. I'm the Director of Technical Services at Murray State University, and I'm a member of the Conference Directors Planning Committee. I kind of coordinated this pre-conference session on assessment. My role here today is primarily as a moderator to kind of keep conversation moving, and we do very much want this to be a conversation, so please feel free to interrupt, ask questions, and interact, because we do want this to be an interactive session. So I'm going to introduce our speakers today. Adam Murray, who is the Dean of Libraries at James Madison University, is going to kick us off today, so he will be the first to speak, and he's going to provide a little bit of context for assessment. Ashley Ireland, who is the Dean of Libraries at Murray State University, is going to kind of run us through some case studies of universities and what kind of assessment projects have already been done. And then Carrie Donovan, who is the Associate Dean of Research and Instruction at Ferris State University. And John Watts, who is the undergraduate research librarian at University of Nevada, Las Vegas, are going to kind of go through some guided activities as you can start to plan some assessment projects at your own institutions and your own companies. I would like to, if y'all don't mind, I'd like to go around the room and let y'all introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about where you're from, and if you feel like sharing with us what you would like to possibly get out of this session today. So I'm gonna start passing the lavalier around. We are being recorded, so so if we can, at least for introductions, have everybody do it through the microphone so that the camera can pick it up, that would be great. Right? So I'll start over here.
Oh yeah, that'll sound good on tape. April Davies, Acquisitions Librarian, SUNY Cobalt-Skill. I haven't had enough coffee to figure that out, the what I want part yet. Okay.
Hey, I'm Sarah Duff from Gulf Coast State College. And I'm just here to learn about new ways we can do assessment and how we can better use the information we already have and demonstrate, stakeholders, et cetera, et cetera.
Good morning. My name is Renee Gorel. I'm from the Goldfarb School of Nursing in St. Louis, Missouri. I'm drawing a blank on what I hope. I'm just going to soak it all in.
And that's fine. I think you're all going to be at different phases in your own assessment projects, and so I think part of the conversation today will be kind of where you are, if you're anywhere, if you're just starting to think about assessment or if you're in the midst of an assessment. I expect that we'll all be at different places, and I hope that will be part of our conversation today.
Hi, my name is Yuming Jiang. I'm from the University of Colorado Health Science Library. I'm just here to learn assessment in general.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Derek Cisneros. I'm from the University of California at Davis. I'm here to get a feel for the details and all that are involved in an assessment program.
I'm Amelia Brunskill. I'm the coordinator of collections and scholarly resources at DePaul University. I'm interested in thinking about assessment in the context of collections.
Carl Grant, the Associate Dean of Libraries at the University of Oklahoma, and I'm really looking for new ways to show the impact within the academic programs.
Hi, my name is Kathy Gehring. I'm a research and instruction librarian at Connecticut College, a liberal arts college, and we're just always looking for ways to assess sort of the public service side of things in a more metric-driven way, I guess, if possible.
Hi, I'm Ruth Lowe from Metropolitan State University in Minneapolis and St. Paul, Minnesota. I have spent time as an administrator. I'm also currently now a reference librarian, and I'm also serving as an HLC accrediting peer reviewer. So I'm at that connection where for our regional accreditation, I'm seeing what schools are sending in and how little they address the library as far as being a resource for problems that they have. So I'm really interested in that connection. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Stella Sandy, and I'm from the University of the West Indies, Trinidad and Tobago. I am the head of acquisitions and continuing resources. This area, in terms of academic library value, is a new area of focus in our library, so I'm here to learn all I can to support the drive in the library.
Good morning. My name's Alex Lloyd. I'm actually from a vendor, so I'm the sales manager at Portland Press, and I guess what I'm looking to get out of today's session is to understand what information we may or may not be providing to our customers and helping them to make their decisions.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Kronk. I'm from the University of Houston. I'm the coordinator of online resources and collections. Like Amelia, I'm interested in seeing how we can apply assessment frameworks to our collections, make sure that we're proving the value there, and also, whenever possible, making the link to student learning outcomes, which has been a little bit hard on our side.
I'm Jennifer Smathers from the college at Brockport in Brockport, New York. I am head of technical services and a new supervisor of a systems and assessment librarian. So while I've dabbled in assessment before, we need to push the envelope now. And I'm really interested in assessment beyond the numbers. The numbers are the easy part.
I'm Ann Lanham from Vanderbilt University and coordinator for library assessment, and this role is brand new for me. I've just been in it for a few months, so I'm here to take in everything I can about assessment.
Hi, I'm Rosanna Ratliff. I'm the director of the Baylor Health Sciences Library in Dallas. We serve an academic, we serve the Texas A&M Health Science Center, Baylor College of Dentistry, as well as a system of 15 hospitals. So assessment is interesting as far as academia versus hospitals. And so I've been doing it for some time with the dental school, and we've had a recent merger with a system of hospitals, and I'm just trying to get new ideas on what we should be doing with that group. It's somewhat different.
Hello, I'm Kathy Giffey. I'm from Wiley, and I'm Director of Strategic Market Analysis there. And while that might not tell you what I do, what it really means is whatever librarians care about, I care about. So this is an area where we're trying to learn more and think about ways that we can be supportive.
I was going to say coffee. I'm Patricia Pennyjohn. I'm the head of Collection Development and Technical Services at USF St. Petersburg. I've been doing assessments of collections for a really long time for regional and programmatic accreditation. I can pretty much pump those puppies out really fast. I'm over the numbers, sort of like someone else said. I have also done some focus groups. I've done some observation research where I followed people around as part of a project, and I used those assessments when we were getting rid of things and trying to figure out how people were using the physical collection so we could weed. And I'm just at a place where I want new tools. I don't think I'll ever be able to get away from the collection assessments because there are some bodies that require those for various reasons, the list and the numbers and all of that stuff. And the other thing is that I'm looking at large-scale deselection. And that's really where I probably need assessment the most. Thanks.
My name is Danielle Westbrook. I'm with the California Digital Library and the Western Regional Storage Trust, also known as WEST. So we have done, for WEST, some program assessment, as well as for UC Shared Print. And I think I'm most interested in hearing about others' experiences and the case studies, as well as in general taking what is a program or a more specific assessment and kind of raising it up to the library value and the wider university value in terms of impact and outcomes, as has been mentioned. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Celia Jacobus. I'm the Library Programs Associate at the Appalachian College Association, which is a consortium of 35 small liberal arts colleges in the Appalachian region. So I'm here to find some resources for them and pass along what I learned here and also figure out what the consortia's role is in assessment with our members.
Hey, my name is Deanna Flores. I'm Library Director of Adventist University in Health Sciences in Orlando, Florida. And our department, we're completely looking at our whole assessment structure for our library, and so I'm here to gain more information about the whole planning process and deciding what types of assessments to add and drop, what our priorities are, what really does need to be assessed, and how that ties in with our university's vision and so forth.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Tommy Dahl. I'm from Elsevier. I'm head of strategy for the Science and Technology Books business, and I'm a reference publisher. My background is more in strategy and investing. So I used to do lots of assessments for banks and pharmaceuticals using data and insights and governance processes. So I see this as a really exciting opportunity for us to continue to push the envelope in understanding and building strategies for libraries and for our own collections.
Tracking you down. You don't escape.
My name is Shannon Jones, and I am the Director of Libraries for the Medical University of South Carolina, right here in Charleston. And I'm here because I'm a brand new director in this position, and we're looking to reinvent ourselves on campus and who we are, and so I'm looking to learn some good assessment techniques that will assist us with doing that.
Thank you. Okay, at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Adam and let him kick us off. And again, please, I just want to reiterate that we hope for this to be a discussion. So if you have questions for him, please feel free to raise your hand.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for the introductions, and thanks for being here so early in the morning. I know a couple of you mentioned a need for coffee, so hopefully this will be a workshop that's very engaging for you guys. We do intend this to be a very conversational approach. We also intend this to be a very practical and applied workshop. A lot of you mentioned the fact that you're new in your roles or that you're looking to expand how you work on assessment. So that's great because we're going to be going from this perspective. Wait. I think I got it. There we go. Can we still hear? Good, still with the camera? Okay, perfect. So this way that we can hopefully help you frame whatever project it is that you're wanting to work on. I do want to just throw a shout out again to the group that we have here today. I can't imagine a better lineup to help lead a workshop like this. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the ACRL Value Initiative and the Assessment in Action program. And literally all of our speakers today have been involved with the Assessment in Action program in various capacities. And so this is a great workshop and a great lineup of people to help you think through this role. Okay, so to get things started, I thought I would start with actually a really light and easy question, sort of like what is the meaning of life? So what is the purpose of higher education? And I'd like to hear from you guys. Okay.
Well, besides providing you with a job and a paycheck, I would say to foster lifelong learning in our population and prepare people for the next phase
Okay.
Whether that's coming back to school or moving from, high school into the adult world.
Sure. So lifelong learning was the second thing that she mentioned. She jokingly mentioned providing her with a job, but that actually is a very valid point to point out in terms of higher education, is the economic impact that universities and colleges have within the communities that they exist in. Other thoughts? You look like you have something to say.
Well, I think it's a large part teaching them critical thinking skills and how to learn for the rest of their lifetime, giving them the foundations in which to analyze, move forward, and present them with information. There's some real core foundation how that's supposed to be.
Okay, so Carl talked about some traditional liberal arts learning outcomes, critical thinking, the ability to process information, and turning that into a lifelong skill as they encounter that throughout their careers. Other thoughts?
Education is valued across the world, and as we need engineers, we need physicians, we need nurses, and higher education is where they're going to get those skills, and that's that knowledge.
Okay.
If we no longer had higher education, where are we going to get the engineers, the physicians, the nurses, the educators in higher education?
Right.
We have to have it.
Yep. So the concept of workforce development and higher education as a credentialing agent. Other thoughts? So self-exploration at the undergraduate level, and then moving that into a more refined and focused area for graduate studies.
Well, this is a thought. It doesn't go to the question, but the question prompts me to say, going into politics, that all of the things people have said here should be available to our full citizens.
Okay, universal access. The American Association of Colleges and Universities is having their centennial conference coming up in January in Washington, D.C. And the theme of it this year is higher education and the democratic imperative, and where higher education is falling short on that notion of universal access and the equalizing force that education can provide. Great point. Other thoughts? How about the role of research? Any thoughts on where research fits into this? So far, we've been very focused on the educational component.
To drive economic growth without research and innovation, we don't have new products and services.
Yeah.
Sorry. Again, it's economic growth. Without research, you can't, and also, you can't create new products, new services, create jobs, etc.
Yep.
I think also just some really big societal problems that these research trying to crack: food security, energy, sustainability, social, political unrest. These big problems are trying to crack.
Yeah. So not just the commercialization of research and driving economic development, but also starting to try to tackle some of the very complex problems that we face today. Great point. Okay.
I'll say something again. Not just solving problems, but just figuring out our world. I mean, did we need to know about black holes? No, but maybe not. That's a good thing to know.
So the drive for theoretical research versus applied research. So we've got kind of those two splits there, and the value that can sometimes come about from theoretical research that's unanticipated. Velcro and NASA is a perfect example. Okay. All right. Great.
And I'm in a medical institution, so yes, research is
Key. Yeah.
So I think part of what I'm always looking for in assessment metrics is I'm always trying to transform our library from a reactive service provider to a proactive service provider. So I'm trying to understand what people need and they need it to be that more successful. Get in front of them and tell them you're not going to be using this resource at this point. There's
right? So to extrapolate from that, you're talking about the library as a very proactive, service-oriented unit, and to kind of build upon that into this nature and the role of higher education, that higher education itself should be, and in some cases is, a service-oriented enterprise that tries to be proactive and to respond to societal changes, but also to lead them in some cases. Building on what was mentioned earlier in terms of politics, I'll throw out another one, and that's the concept of civic engagement. Helping students understand their role within the democratic process, and also the role beyond economic development and workforce development, but within the community in terms of fostering those relationships. Vetting of information. Yep. So you mentioned undergraduate research. There are a list of high impact practices that were adopted by the American Association of State Colleges and Universities as part of their LEAP program. These are based on the National Survey of Student Engagement. You've probably heard about this. It's probably been implemented at your campus at some time or another. Undergraduate research is one of those high impact practices that really fosters student engagement and really deepens the ability of students to learn what they're pursuing in their undergraduate degree program. There are 9 other ones, and they're all probably, if you take a look at those lists, you'll see an implementation of those in some degree or another at all of your campuses. So this is this conversation has been to get you thinking about the role of higher education within society and what might be some of the pressures that face higher education in our world today. So, if I can, there we go. How many of you are familiar with the concept of the iron triangle of higher education? No one, okay. All right, so to very briefly sum it up, the iron triangle are the 3 points that all the different stakeholders of higher education expect from higher education: access, cost, and quality. And it's described as an iron triangle because it's unbreakable. You cannot adjust one without adjusting the others. You can't increase the quality of the educational experience without driving up the cost of the educational experience, without lowering the accessibility of the educational experience. So you could pick any one of these 3 points on the triangle, and in order to adjust it, you have to adjust the other 2. So using that as a little bit of a framework, these are pressures that provosts and presidents and other educational leaders live with day in and day out. This is what keeps them up at night. This is how they have to work with their boards. This is how they have to work with state legislatures and with educational oversight committees and with governing agencies within states, with accreditation agencies. There are a lot of different stakeholders who have a lot of different emphasis on these 3 factors. We'll take a look at access first. You mentioned universal access. The federal government has called for a much more comprehensive drive towards universal access. President Obama has set a goal of having the most number of graduates of higher education in the world, which we have fallen behind on, and that goal is for 2020. The reality that's facing that goal is that there is a projected 3 million deficit in the number of graduates that's demanded by the labor force coming up in just a couple of years. So the higher education industry, to use the word industry, is not producing enough deliverables to meet the demands of the labor market, while we're still also trying to push towards this universal access notion. Within the demographics of higher education, the students that are served by higher education, there's a projected enrollment growth for these different populations, 46% increase in Hispanic enrollment by 2020, a 25% increase in Black and Asian Pacific Islander enrollment.
Let me ask you about that, because that seems odd.
Sure.
Is that each of those would increase 25%?
I believe that's each of those. Whether 25% increase in Black and a 25% increase in Asian Pacific Islander, yes. A 1% increase is expected in white enrollment, and likewise for American Indian and Alaskan Native. Looking at age populations, there's a projected enrollment growth of only 12% in what we would call traditional college students, and I know you've seen this at your universities. 18 to 24-year-olds are expected to only continue to grow by around 12% in the next few years, whereas we'll see a growth of 28% in 25 to 35-year-olds and 22% in 35 and older. So this brings up notions of college readiness. A lot of these populations are going to be coming from different backgrounds and from different school systems that have had different resources made available to them. A lot of them will be coming into a college experience without the skills and the knowledge that they need to be able to perform at a college level. So that increases the amount of remediation that colleges have to provide to get students brought up to the level that they need to be at to perform in college, which increases the time to degree, which increases the cost. So again, as you see there, these things cascade as you start to take a look at them. The same is true for non-traditional students. They're going to be coming in with a different background, a different expectation of the experience. And increasingly, they're expecting a personalized journey to degree completion. I'm sure many of you have heard about competency-based education. So the idea that someone who has been in the workforce for a while can utilize that experience to count towards maybe finishing up a degree that they started but never finished, or coming back to get some kind of an extra certification or credential to help them change careers or to move forward in their jobs. Did you have a question or comment? Yep.
Everything else in the curriculum is pretty much laid out. So it creates real tension when it comes to the library trying to get into the curriculum because there's no space.
There's no room. So that's a great point, and we'll talk about it a little bit more in a second in terms of how states are getting involved with trying to maintain control over really all three of those points of the Iron Triangle, and capping the number of courses that students can take is one of those.
And that increases in some of, I think, my understanding, some classes.
Yep, good point. So shifting now to cost. Cost and accessibility are very difficult to separate from each other, but looking at these, this is a separate item. Raise your hand if your institutions have kept your budgets the same over the last 10 years. Yeah, no one, right? Unless yours has, well, great. That's great. Yeah. Right. Well, that's a good point. Has anyone had a significant budget increase? Slight.
We had one year that Middle States was coming to embarrass us.
Right. So for those of you at public institutions, state funding in 2014, this is from the State Higher Education Executive Officers Association, is at $86 billion, and it's increased slightly, up 5.7% from last year. Overall, it's still down significantly from what it was prior to the recession. So this has had, obviously, an impact on tuition. Tuition revenue has reached $150 billion, and public higher education's revenue is now roughly generated at 47% from tuition. So that has had a tremendous increase on the pressure put on students to pay for their education. The constant dollars spent per student is at $6,500, and while this is still up from last year, it's still lower than it has been consistently for the last few years than it ever had been in the last 25 years. So even though the costs are going up, the amount that is spent per student continues to stay low. So student debt, and this is a hot off the press number. There was a press conference just last week at the White House about student debt and where it stands for the class of 2014. And now students graduating in 2014 are expected to have, on average, around $29,000 worth of debt that they'll be exiting college with. And the unemployment rate for recent graduates is 7.2%. If you'd like to learn more about the state of graduates right after they graduate, there's a fantastic book that's listed in the recommended reading called Aspiring Adults Adrift. And so again, this is looking at how students move into their lives and their careers after graduation, which again, with the constant focus on return on investment and is college worth it, being a big thing in the news, this is something that provosts and presidents and boards are very concerned about, is how do we help graduates transition into their careers. This brings us to quality, and what do all of these factors have as an impact on the quality of the educational experience? So just as a few examples, the cost containment pressures that higher education is facing has led to a rise in the adjunct labor force. So these are employees who are terminally degreed, but they're not in tenure track positions. They don't have benefits. They tend to work for multiple universities, teaching many more sections of courses than is healthy either for them or for their students. There's been a push not only for utilizing online and hybrid course delivery, but for scaling that to a large scale. So, not just on maintaining the quality of the online experience, but in trying to have enrollments of 2 or 3 or 500, however many can conceivably be fit into an online course. I mentioned the personalized journeys to degree completion. This can be done well, but you have to be very focused on how you do it and have a great process in place to make sure that the quality imperative isn't slipping in order to accommodate that. Again, large-scale course delivery. And then student expectations for engagement. We have a generation of students who are used to iPads and used to interactivity, and they've come up through school districts that have had service learning requirements, and so they don't want to be lectured to. They expect engagement, and so that is a very high energy, high time element in terms of preparing for a course. And then there's the traditional liberal education versus career preparation focus. What we're actually finding, and what that Aspiring Adults Adrift book mentions, is that employers would prefer that the graduates of our colleges come out with better critical thinking and creative thinking, writing, communication skills, than necessarily the skills and the knowledge they need to be employed. They would rather handle that themselves. They would rather us focus on those lifelong learning skills. So I'd like you guys to think for a second, what is the rhetoric that you hear at your institutions in the speeches that your president gives, or the press releases that come out from your board or from your provost? Which of these three things in the Iron Triangle really resonates at your university? So all of this has led to significant pressures on higher education, coming from a lot of different stakeholder groups, and it's led to an increased call for accountability, not just in the quality area, which has been kind of a place that higher education could hang its hat on and have as its bread and butter, but also that cost and accessibility issue. And that has implications for assessment. It's changed how higher educations have to do assessment in general, and that has trickled down to libraries as well. It's changed how we have to approach assessment. We can't use basic numbers, and I think a couple of people mentioned getting beyond the numbers. We can't use basic numbers anymore as an indicator of the quality point on the triangle. We have to find better ways of indicating quality, and we also have to find ways of being able to show contributions to the cost and the accessibility points as well. And as a final point, we've been using the word assessment throughout. I know at different institutions the word assessment can be defined different ways. Academics love to define things. I'm using this, and I think we're using this somewhat interchangeably with research and evaluation. So at some institutions, assessment means, and this is the case at my institution now, only looking at student learning outcomes, and that is a very valid part of assessment. We're also including evaluation and research in this workshop. How might you put together a research agenda that gets at some of those other items that aren't necessarily student learning outcomes? Question? Excellent point. Thank you. So this has all led to the development of Megan Oakleaf's report a few years ago, which helped really solidify and kick off the value initiative. You can see here a wide range of different areas that Megan has suggested that libraries could develop research and assessment programs around. All of these contribute back into some notion of any of those 3 points in the triangle. And again, that conversation was simply to help ground this conversation and workshop within the shifting nature of higher education, the landscape that we all have to operate in, and how we're able to put together findings and reports and data and conversations about our impact in ways that resonate with university administration, rather than simply talking about database numbers or the number of books within our collection. So with that being said, I'm going to hand it off to Ashley, and she'll take it from here.